Okay. Biopic of Ronald Reagan starring Dennis Quaid came out last week. And wow, I'm going to cut to the chase. Just go see it. I lived through those times. I remember vividly when Reagan won election and was shot. Some real parallels in terms of what was happening then and now. Um, Carter just decimated this country. I was in high school. It was just awful. Gas lines. I had a moped. My stepdad would fill up a gas can so I could put when he sat in line for gas for an hour, and so then that way I wouldn't have to go, and that would allow me to get around. I was 15. It was the world was horrible under everything was horrible under Carter. He was a nice man. He was a terrible president, and I'd kind of forgotten how much stress there was growing up with that threat of nuclear war and all the changing um, leadership in Soviet Union. Like they were having what do they call them, secretary directors, whatever, die like every year for several years before Gorbachev got in there. It was really a weird time, and Reagan, I always liked Reagan. He was awesome. He was funny. He told great jokes. He was just a really good guy. And let me say, Dennis Quaid's portrayal of him is fabulous. He's got the voice down, he's got the physical mannerisms, the look, really, really good. Now, that's a lot of the good part. The maybe the downside is it feels very surface level. I mean, Reagan wasn't a saint, and it portrays him probably maybe overly positive. I mean, those were real events, but you don't get too much into the negative ones. But they covered a lot of ground. They covered his childhood, which I didn't know about. There were things about him I didn't know about. I also didn't realize that when he was shot, how bad that was, because they did tell us he hadn't been hit, and there wasn't a lot of information coming out, and it was actually a lot worse than any of us were led to believe. And just his grace and the way he communicated was really quite impressive. When he had the Alzheimer's, his farewell letter to the country was just very touching. I gotta tell you, I was tearing up through parts of this. It was just like a lot of repressed memories of everything from that time. I think it's worth taking your kids, your young people. It's worth supporting, this kind of entertainment so that we can get more things like this and maybe less like Borderlands and Minecraft and other crap. So yeah, strong recommendation from me. Of course, IMDb is at 6.5 because it's getting review bombed. Like I say, there's sort of a lack of depth. It's got to cover a lot of ground, and it covers a lot of ground. You get a lot of details. When the wall came down, and none of this is a surprise, but for younger people, it'll be very informative. And if you're older and you live through it, it's worth watching to remember, what we went through, and just to see how much is still the same, like the protesters back then and the protesters today. You know, I recommend it. Check it out.